Francis, I guess you have the meeting here. This is for virtual computers, and you're going to give us a quick rundown on how the programming for a Windows computer. There are three virtual machine programs that you can run inside your Windows computer: VMware Workstation Player, Oracle VM VirtualBox, and Hyper-V. And I'm hoping that you will give us a chance to find out all about this and tell us all about this. So we are looking forward to your presentation. And we'll let Francis here take the show away if he is ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me try sharing screens.
Okay.
Let me know if you start seeing the crazy screen on my computer.
I'm seeing a Google screen.
All right, that's good. That's good. I'm going to start off by showing you my website, because that's where today's presentation and about 70 others is located. Just go to aztcs.apcug.org. Okay, go to aztcs.apcug.org and hit enter, and you'll get to my fancy website. And on that website, if you click on meeting notes, I have about roughly 9 hours of presentation material about virtual machines at the very top of it. It's all this stuff I've written.
Nice.
And so obviously I'm not going to give you 9 hours. Peter told me you guys would all be asleep if I tried to read from slides. So I'm trying not to read from slides today. Okay. And let me show you what I've got here. An introduction to virtual machines at the very top. A comparison to help you decide which one to use, which program to use. Okay. How to install the program that you select. And then a bunch of other miscellaneous things you can do with virtual machines after you've installed them. Okay. Last but not least, I'm talking about Quick Create, which is an app that comes with Microsoft's Hyper-V, which is their virtual machine program. So I've got all this stuff here. I'm just going to go into it. Just speak up if you have any questions or if something's wrong with the screen. I once talked for 20 minutes and nobody told me the screen had gone blank because everybody was busy eating at some restaurant. So I never know if I'm talking just to myself or to a bunch of people. See?
I will try to help keep us on track. I'm very interested in this because I noticed one thing that you had that was on the presentation here is that you can clone machines, and I'm actually interested in trying to clone some of mine. So any good information you can give us along that track might be very nice.
All right, we'll keep that in mind. Let's see. So that's on our website. I'm going to start in on the first presentation, but I'm not going to spend much time on these slides. Okay. For starts, let me tell you how I'm doing this presentation. Because when I tell people I'm going to show them 3 different virtual machine programs in one presentation, usually if they're really big tech geniuses, they'll yell you're lying because you can't show all 3 at the same time. So I'm using a trick called remote desktop, which is something Windows provides, to go from one computer to 2 others. Okay, my main computer is this laptop. It's a fairly expensive high-end laptop. In it, I have 2 other computers that I'm running to this laptop. One is a regular computer, and one is running Microsoft's Hyper-V. Okay, so what else can I tell you about today? I think all I need to show you, I gotta get rid of that. We'll start off with just the basics and show a few slides and then move on. Let's see. The first presentation, there. And I hope y'all can see this. Let me know if things aren't working out. So this is my first slide. I hope it's big enough for everybody to see. It probably depends on whether you have a widescreen monitor or a regular monitor. I'm trying to make everybody happy with the size of my slides. Okay. And this is my email address. I love telling people about virtual machines. So write it down if you want to ask me any questions or if you want some help with one. Okay. So it's fchao2@yahoo.com. So take a photo of this if you have your camera or cell phone handy, or a quick snapshot using the correct settings on your cell phone. Okay. And oh boy, I still haven't changed to the newer URL that we're now on. Okay, I'll have to fix that. Okay, you can run virtual machines to do all kinds of great things. One is you can learn about Linux and other versions of Windows that you normally can't get into. Okay, and when I'm dealing with, for example, schools, I have to do Windows 10 for education. That's really different in the way it works from Windows 10 Home. Take my word for it. So I've got to do that in a virtual machine to understand what people are asking me about. Let's talk about hypervisors. That's a generic term for a operating system that is the first or the second operating system that runs in your computer. And there's three options for hypervisors. There's VMware Player, Oracle VM VirtualBox, and Hyper-V. And let's see if I can get this going. Okay. A virtual machine, which is a computer that's created with software, has to have a virtual motherboard, a virtual USB ports, with the exception of Microsoft's Hyper-V, they don't have any, virtual sound cards, virtual hard drives, hard drive controllers, virtual mice, and virtual keyboards. These things are all created by means of software. So, and when you run software in a virtual machine, your software doesn't really realize it's dealing with other software. It thinks it's communicating with hardware. That takes a lot to do. Over in Germany, it took them 5 to 10 years to create the first set of virtual machine software, which is now has more merged into Oracle VM VirtualBox. Okay. Now, if you have a real computer, and in it you put in a Type 2 hypervisor, which is VMware Workstation Player or VirtualBox, and in there you can make virtual machines. That's what most people are doing. Now, Microsoft wants to be slightly different. They want to put their hypervisor on top of Windows and rename Windows to root partition, and then have you make a bunch of virtual machines. So the Microsoft world does it slightly differently, for better or worse. Implementing virtual machines. Okay, shoot if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast. Okay, you have a real computer. You install a virtual machine program, okay, into that computer. I've had real screenshots and steps here for doing it. And obviously, I'm not going to go through every step today, right? Then you create a virtual machine from inside the virtual machine program. Then you run the virtual machine and you install an operating system into the virtual machine. Then it's like someone just gave you a computer, additional computer, for free because you didn't pay for it, but for all intents and purposes, you have another computer running inside your regular computer. It's a real handy thing to have. You know, I have about 700 of these suckers. Okay, I'll explain that in a minute. What else can I tell you about? Okay, let's go through okay, well, at the end of installing a virtual machine, you have some drivers to stick in the sucker. They are given to you by the manufacturer, developer of the virtual machine program. And these drivers have to be installed by you in order to make the virtual machine run really well. Because Microsoft is unwilling to put in competitive drivers for you to run, because they consider virtual machines, and so do some of the computer manufacturers competitors to selling you a big shiny piece of hardware and selling you other things. Okay. Now, I think that's the end of that one. So that's quick. Any questions? Or want me to jump into the next one? What Peter wanted to hear about, and I'm going to make it real fast because he's not here, and I don't want to get involved with too many details, is comparing the virtual machine programs. So I'm going to try to make this one faster than if he were here. Let's see what happened. Okay, comparison. That's this guy right here. Comparison of virtual machine programs. And like I told you, there's 3 of them out there. And at the end of this set of slides, I collected around 20 comparisons made by other people. And I didn't put any in there that don't agree with me. I only put in the guys that agree with me. Okay? No use throwing misinformation out there, right? You'll find people that say great things about every virtual machine program. It depends on where they're getting their money from. If they work for Microsoft or a Microsoft partner, they'll obviously say Microsoft's Hyper-V is the best, right? If they have a lot of stock in VMware, they'll probably tell you VMware is the best. And if they're Oracle bigots and love Oracle's extremely complex database system, they'll tell you Oracle VM VirtualBox is the best system. So you can get any opinion you want. So don't believe them, believe me. Okay? There's these 3 programs, and the biggest difference, let's see, introduction. The biggest difference between these 3 programs is USB support. Okay? I'll tell you a little secret. If I set up a virtual machine in Windows inside Microsoft's Hyper-V, I can kiss attaching USB devices to it goodbye. Okay? It just isn't going to work. If I set up a virtual machine inside VMware Workstation Player or Oracle VM VirtualBox, I will have great connections capability to USB devices. And so you generally won't catch me using Microsoft's Hyper-V for much of anything unless I want a super fast virtual machine that doesn't connect to anything. Okay? Free. Let's redefine the word free before someone accuses me of trying to pirate software. Free in the virtual machine world means free for private in-home use. See, I'm working right now for a corporation. It's called APCUG. So is John. It's not private in-home use. If they catch me using a free piece of software that's for private in-home use, they can fine the corporation I'm volunteering for $80,000 to $120,000 per instance currently. That's a very steep fine. Okay, that generally puts most nonprofits, unless they have very deep pockets, out of business, trying to pay off the fine. Okay, so keep in mind, don't run off to your church or your other important organization, such as your charity or your business, and start putting this stuff in. Try to find out what you've got to do to make it legal if you're not doing it in your own home. Okay. All right. Let's see. What else can I tell you about? Oracle. What?
Do you know why there are such high fines for that? Yeah, I mean, would you actually, doing a presentation like this should not be a problem, right?
Well, it depends. It's an argument in court whether this is fair use.
Okay.
Half the lawyers say this is fair use, and half of them say, no way, this is not fair use. You're providing a benefit for the corporation. So,
yeah, but you're just doing a presentation on this. We're not really doing the virtual machines here, right?
In a minute, I will be.
Oh, okay. I may have to do a little something with the video then. Just for your safety and ours.
No, don't worry about it. It's what you're going to find out, and you're going to find quite amazing, is being a professional, a computer professional. I don't do anything illegally. You're going to find a pile of software I paid for in the rest of this presentation. Every single piece of it. I don't take any chances. We just had a presentation by our president, APCUG president, on music. And he is in addition to being a famous banker and knowing a lot of lawyers, he's very careful with music. And so if we record his and we put it up on YouTube, we know to cut out the audio that belongs to somebody. So very careful with all this. So anyhow, you're going to see a pile of paid for software. I did this as a consultant for 40 years. So I own a pile of software, okay? So you won't see anything that says private use only or in-home use or any of that sort of stuff on anything I show you. It just isn't something I do.
Good.
Okay, what? Oracle. Okay, Oracle is free until you read the fine print. They're located in Menlo Park, California. They used to be. I don't know where they are now. And they've got more lawyers than software programmers. And the lawyers know how to write very tricky things into their licenses. Okay, don't believe it, read them. Okay, you won't believe some of the things they say. It says free for use by any corporation as long as a computer department person doesn't install it and the end user installs it themselves. Well, how many people work for a company in which they have to install software into their computer that they're going to use? See, they wrote some very tricky stuff in there that ultimately makes you think they want to be paid. Okay. The other thing is you asked about how high the fees are. You've got to realize there's a whole, and I said this and I got thrown off a jury once. The courts need a ton of money to stay in business. They're air conditioned, they have tons of employees. The lawyers that were at the court drove Maseratis and Lamborghinis to get to work. And I said, here we are expecting to work for free and we're the jurors. Well, I got shoved off the jury duty about 40 seconds later. They didn't want to hear any of that. And then my friend, the policeman down the street said, you're trying to get out, weren't you? I said, no, I told him the truth. And then obviously I aggravated a few people. I saw some faces turn red and I saw a big relief on the judge's face when I walked out. So obviously I got someone upset, okay? So anyhow, the other part is when you install a virtual machine into Oracle VM VirtualBox, there's something called a bunch of extensions that you have to add in afterwards. The extensions have a charge to them. That's where they make most of their money. They charge you for the extension package. It's right below where it says free, and then you get this fine print that says this extension is not free and open source software. To pay for it, click here. And so by the time you're through with it, you're paying. Okay. Now, obviously, Hyper-V is not free. You have to have a legal copy of Windows to run it, right? So that's another presentation I have about how Microsoft keeps track now of its activation. It's very tricky, but it gives them the ability to help the NSA track almost every computer in the world. So think about what they have done. Consider that an extension of the NSA and the federal government because of what they've done. But that's another thing they don't want to hear. And when I say this, it turns the Microsoft people in the audience red. So I must be hitting some raw nerve, right? Okay, now, host operating systems. VMware Workstation Player 16. It runs in Windows 10 and 8.1. Earlier versions run of VMware Workstation Player work on other versions of Windows. You won't be able to find a version of Windows that can't run it. Oracle VM VirtualBox, the same thing, except they will. They also run in Mac, which is very important to a lot of people. Okay. Now Hyper-V. Here's what Hyper-V runs in. It's very limited. It runs in Windows 10 and 8.1 and Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Enterprise, and Windows 10 Education. So those are the only things that can run Hyper-V. You try anything else, it won't go. Okay? Now here's the problem. How many of you are running Windows 10 Pro? I walked into a store before the COVID hit. I looked around. I didn't find any computers that were being sold with Windows 10 Pro on them, not even the high-end gamers machines. They all want their $99 to upgrade from Windows 10 Home to Pro at Best Buy and Walmart and everywhere else. And in Walmart, they'll sell it to you, they won't do it for you, see? So anyhow, so the cost for most computer users to run Hyper-V is about $99. You can probably find a cheaper versions of it on eBay and on the internet. Differences in USB support. I'm going to make this real short and sweet. USB support is great in VMware Workstation Player. You can attach any USB device to it. I do it all the time. I attach USB wired Ethernet adapters to it and to a separate router to create a network of computers in the house here that I can demonstrate malware on. I do it all the time, and I don't get any other computer infected. So things are very secure in the virtual machine world. Okay. Oracle VM, not as good. Just the last couple of years, they got the ability to simulate USB ports. But recently I tried it. They're not quite as good, but they're still much better than Hyper-V. Hyper-V, forget it. Don't attach any USB devices to a Hyper-V virtual machine. Why? Hyper-V is from the server world. You don't attach USB devices to servers in general. You attach PCIe and weird devices like fiber and other things like that. USB is not considered efficient enough for servers. Okay. Now, in the case of USB devices in Hyper-V, sometimes you can get around it if the USB device acts like a hard drive or a flash drive. But for any other device like cameras, network adapters, wireless adapters, all these other TV tuners, all these things I own are USB devices, and I can't attach them to a Hyper-V virtual machine. Okay, sound cards. All right. You have a choice. I'm going to tell it to you real quick. In VMware Workstation and Oracle VirtualBox, you have a choice of having a virtual sound card added to your virtual machine, or you can attach a USB sound card. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. In Hyper-V, the only sound card you're going to get is one that Microsoft has begrudgingly given you in Windows 10 or 8 or in Ubuntu 18.04. Now, why Ubuntu 18.04 gets along and with sound in Hyper-V is beyond me. But they buddied up with Microsoft about 2 years ago. And some people think that's sacrilegious, and they're mad at Ubuntu over it. And they added a bunch of drivers to Microsoft's proprietary version of Ubuntu that runs sound. Okay, and even so, you have to turn it on when you're first starting up your computer, your virtual machine. Okay. All right, so I talked about all that. I'm not going to go into much detail unless we have too many Linux people there. Okay. Okay, I won't even go into some of those details. Network support. All right. Okay, here's where all the machine programs are slightly different, all the virtual machine programs. VMware Workstation Player, you can attach a virtual network adapter, or you can use a virtual USB port to attach a real USB network device. Same for Oracle. On Hyper-V, you don't have those options. All you can do on Hyper-V is attach to one or more virtual Ethernet network switches, which are actually low-end routers. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, what else can I tell you about? Virtual graphics adapters. Okay, I don't know about you, but I do some video editing for folks, and I run TV tuners inside my computers. I do a lot of multimedia. Okay, both sound and video. And so in VMware Workstation Player, you can you have tremendous amounts of resolution for each virtual monitor you create. And you in Oracle, you have only 128 or 256 megabytes of graphics memory. You can put up to 8 gigabytes in VMware Workstation Player. That's a good sound video card, virtual. And on Hyper-V, you get whatever Microsoft decides to give you, and it's usually the same as whatever the guest operating system has. Okay, so that's that. Let's see. Now let's go on. This is additional advice about comparing the different virtual machines. Any questions yet, or shall I want me to move on? Okay, so far so good, right? Now I'm going to go over some real fast stuff, and then I'm going to show you some virtual machines. How's that? I might even go over the fast stuff ahead of time, just for laughs. Let's go over to the one I don't like. How's that? And then we'll move over to the ones I like. And my opinion is reflected in some of the reviews that I picked in the other presentation. So if they didn't agree with me, I didn't put them down. Okay. Now this is my Mac, believe it or not. And this feature in Mac is called Boot Camp. It's going to go away this year. But they found out that less than 3% of their users are running Windows inside their Macs, at least not inside Boot Camp. So they're getting rid of this feature. Okay. Now I installed Windows 10 Pro, not Home, right, into this Boot Camp partition, and then I installed Hyper-V. To show you real quickly how you install Hyper-V, I'm just going to show it to you real quick, or you can read it. I tell you what, make you a deal. You can read about it in this other presentation I've got on how to install things. Okay. Now, once you get it installed, it's not hard. It's about 4 clicks inside the programs and features. If you start it up, you can have this virtual machine. I wish I could get rid of this. Let's see if I can hide floating machine controls. There it is. Though you don't see it though, so I guess it doesn't matter, right? This is the Hyper-V Manager. You install, modify, and start virtual machines from inside it. Okay, and Hyper-V comes with a quick create module, so you can install virtual machines quick without as much configuration and technical smarts. It looks like this. It lets you install those 3 versions of Ubuntu, and they let you install Windows 10 development environment. Okay, and to explain the different versions, those 4 free virtual machines you can download and install, I have a whole presentation. I probably won't go into it, because basically, if you install Ubuntu 18.04, you got sound, everything works okay, you have no USB support, right? If you install Ubuntu 19.10, as soon as you get the virtual machine installed, it won't run. Microsoft buddied up with Canonical 3 years ago, in 2019, and now Canonical has turned off the ability for this virtual machine to run. Now, last year, Microsoft provided you a copy of Ubuntu to run that they've doctored up. There's a bunch of things wrong with it. They're working on fixing the bugs in it. So if you want to run that, have fun. Finally, Windows 10 development environment is a free copy of Windows 10 Enterprise Evaluation. And that runs real fine. You got sound. As usual, you have no USB connections. Okay, so that's about the only one I can really I find too useful when I'm playing around with Hyper-V. So I'm going to fire up that one for you real quick. And I hope it works. I don't remember turning it on. I don't remember close. There. I'm going to fire it up real quick and see if it works. Darn it. That's this guy right here. Development environment. And I'm going to say start. And let's see what it's going to do to me. And the first thing it gives you is this sneaky little screen here. If you don't adjust, if you tell it to save your settings forever on this screen, you won't be able to run this virtual machine again. It's a gotcha. So I'm going to say show it as large as possible. Show options. I don't know if you can see this. And I'm going to say local resources. And I'm going to printers and clipboards. It's already selected. So I can send to my printers around the house here. Go to settings. But you notice that they've already selected speaker audio on the very top there. I don't know if you can see it. It's a little small. At the bottom, you notice they don't have microphone selected. If you don't select it, you won't have audio microphone. And you won't run Zoom too well. So I'm going to select it. Now, you've got to do this every darn time. Then you click on connect. There's no way around it. Okay. Now, then it says sign in. So then I'm going to sign in, and it realizes that I've signed in before. And there's your virtual machine. And it's got a bunch of Microsoft stuff in it, including Visual Studio 2019. And what else it's got? And then I'm not going to run Zoom in it for you, but it works just fine. Okay. So this is, and it gives you 52 days before it dies. If you run a command line, two command line commands inside the PowerShell window, you can run 2 commands, which I can tell you about. slmgr space /ATO and slmgr space /renew. You can kick it up to 91 days. Okay. Now, how do I know that? Because I obviously had to run those commands for somebody's demonstration once, right? So anyhow, I'm not going to go into too much detail. It isn't real pretty. You can perhaps make the icons a little bigger. It's about the right size for a desktop use. And for a presentation, it's a little too small. So let's see if they do let you adjust things. I don't know if they'll let me make it any bigger if it's already at maximum size. Nope, it's because I'm coming in from a remote session, from a remote desktop. Okay, so that's as much as I'm going to show you. And beyond running this, you're going to have a real bunch of challenges because of the lack of sound and the lack of USB. So we're going to not show it much unless somebody wants to see it. I think Peter wanted to see it, and I'll show it next time if he's on and I'm showing this. I'll go into a little more detail on this. Okay, I'm going to shut it down with this icon here. I'm going to shut it down using the start button. I'll just shut it down and shut down the virtual machine, and I'm out of it. Okay. Now, when you're running Hyper-V, you can't run VirtualBox also in it, but you can also run VMware Workstation, albeit a little slower than normal. Okay. And VMware Workstation looks like this. I hope it starts up. I don't know if it's trying to misbehave or what. Okay, it looks like this. Oh, okay, just a little starts. You notice I kind of hesitated because it's a little slower than normal when your Hyper-V is running on top of it as the hypervisor. And this is the simpler virtual VMware Workstation Player, what they call it, general menu. Okay, now I'm going to get out of this and go into a regular computer and avoid this one for the rest of this presentation to have a faster, more pleasant experience. How's that? This is my other computer. Okay. Now, there's nothing wrong with this computer. I bought it from Costco. Okay. Costco resells to other people's computers. If you get into their computer website, and you can customize what you want. So I customized myself a fine computer, and here I am, right? I'm inside this other computer, and I hope you all can see this. I'm going to get this thing out of my way, VirtualBox for starts. That's not a bad operating virtual machine program. I'm going to try to get it started. gonna have to get this thing out of my way. You can't see the screens that are trying to block me from starting it. Okay, it looks like this. It's cute, okay? And this is VirtualBox, okay? And most of the people that run Linux love VirtualBox. It runs really well in Linux. There's a few things I don't like about it. It doesn't edit video real well. It doesn't play TV real well because of one reason. It doesn't have enough video RAM. I showed that to you earlier. And it won't get one for anytime soon. Okay. Now in here, I have two virtual machines. So you want to see Ubuntu, you want to see Windows 10. That doesn't matter to me. Let's just start up Ubuntu Linux, because that's one of the main reasons people run virtual machines. So they can learn about Linux for the day when they can convert over to Linux. Okay. Now, it doesn't start out real cute looking, does it? I hope I can get it going. All right. Now, once you get a virtual machine going, you can actually close the main virtual machine window. So I'll close it. Now it's running as a standalone by itself. Hopefully, it'll finish up by itself. It's got some error messages, which is normal. Now, once I get it going, I'm hoping I can get it big enough for you to see. That could be a challenge. I'm going to click on here. I'm going to say settings. I'm going to go to, let's see, display. Where the hell it went? Network, Bluetooth. It should be down here somewhere. Where the heck did it go? See what I can do with it. Well, anyhow, I'm trying to make it bigger. Sometimes, let's see where it went in this for display. Displays. All right, very happy I found it. I'm going to try to give it a higher resolution. Yeah, it already has one. And I'm going to maximize it a little bit. And I'm going to say apply and keep the changes. And I'm going to then drag it over a little bit. I'm going to restore the size of that thing and drag it all the way across. Much better. So once you're in it, you have to adjust the operating system again. Darn it. All right. So anyhow, ooh, it shrunk back down to 100%. Let's go 300%. Okay. Anyhow, this is Linux. Okay. I actually got my first teaching job teaching Red Hat Linux. And they looked far and wide. They couldn't find anyone else. So they said, we'll put up with the troublemaking teacher. Okay. Now, I'm not known to be easy to get along with. And so anyhow, in here you have all the good stuff running, right? And today I won't bother to show it to you because I don't have it set up. But in here I can edit video, audio, Audacity and things, and I can run a TV in here. That's a lot of multimedia power, okay? And so when there's a lot of viruses being distributed on the internet, this is a very safe environment because most of the viruses don't write themselves to run on the 1%, 1.5% of the computers in the world that run Linux at the desktop. Now, those of us who have worked with Linux know that it's in the real world of servers, the amount of Linux out there, including on supercomputers, is massive. I would say 99.9%, all but about one supercomputer in the world runs anything other than some version, customized version of Linux. Okay, and most of the servers in the world don't identify themselves to you because they don't have to, they don't need to. And you'd be crazy to go buy a copy of Windows Server for every single thing you're doing and pay your grand and a half for each copy when you can get a piece of a computer that runs Linux, and the Linux is free and easily customizable, and you can also look at it for code that other people have written in there, like backdoors and things. Okay, so anyhow, I'm going to show you real quick that it runs Firefox real well, and I'm not going to show you Chromium, which is Let's see what else that makes ours a default, not now. And then I'll just go real quick to my website to make sure things are okay. aztcs.apcug can't type apcug.org, and I'm at my website, and I can go to my meeting notes, and there's today's presentation, right? And a bunch of other stuff. So it works fine. Everybody will run a web browser for you, okay? It's to separate the women from the girls, you have to have more capabilities in your computer than VirtualBox, for me at least, okay? It just started, they just kicked up the ability of VirtualBox to run my TVs in there. I'm real happy. I've got three pieces of TV software that I run to watch TV from up here, and I watch it mainly just to make presentations about TV, because my wife's the TV watcher. She's probably watching a nice soap opera right now. I'm not watching anything, and I don't really like TV, and it gives me nightmares, especially all those people shooting each other. Okay, so that's a Ubuntu virtual machine, and when you're in it, you can go file, you can go machine. I'm sorry, machine, and you can go to devices, and look at USB devices. You can attach all kinds of stuff to it. There's a list of some of my TV tuners, and some sound cards I own, and a special keyboard I bought that I bought because I wanted a keyboard that I could loan someone and then run through a dishwasher. A bunch of other stuff, some crazy stuff, okay? So there's a lot of capabilities once you can attach a USB device to a virtual machine. That's how I test viruses. There's no other way to do it without owning a pile of computers. So what else I tell you? I'm going to get out of this. We're going to start my favorite virtual machine program, the one that can do all the good stuff that I like to do. I'm going to follow the rules and shut it down the correct way to remind myself how to do it in case someday I'm only on Linux. Okay, which I don't mind, especially when it pays better when you teach it than Windows. Okay. Now, what else I tell you about? I don't know if you see this little icon over here. It looks like a three-headed three arrows attached to each other up here in the upper right-hand corner. That starts your free VMware Workstation Player. Okay. I don't think. Let's see what else I had to show you. Okay. In there, I got various versions of Windows and two versions of Linux. I'll show you them just for laughs. I'll show you a version of Linux that has driven the internet crazy, but there's only about 1% of people using it. Don't ask me why. Ask one of our Linux experts. It's got the top rating for people trying to learn about it at distrowatch.com. And then it has 1.1% people using it in the real world. It's kind of a mystery, but who knows, right? I like it, and if someone were to give me a computer and say, stick an operating system on it, I don't know a damn thing about computers, this is what I would give them. And you'll see what I mean in a second.
It's the one I'm running, Francis.
Oh, see, John's running it. He's one of the 1%. People, and it's catching on, okay? That's how, look at this, that's simplicity. I can give this to a 2-year-old and they can run it. Look at how easy how big the icons are, how carefully the text is placed next to the icons, how large the taskbar is. I don't know I don't think that's called a taskbar because that's patented by Microsoft. So anyhow, I've got a whole presentation on it and I love it. And it would simplify teaching someone about computers without having to make them take a 6-week course in how to use Windows, which is what I used to do when I was in Tucson. So the simplicity is there. And I'm also using FreeOffice because it's easier for a new user than teaching them LibreOffice. Then I like to convert them over to LibreOffice because it has more capabilities. So this is part of my way of starting somebody on computers without having to become a permanent fixture in their house. See? And you'll notice that I'm running a TV set in it, a TV player, which works just fine, written by one of the people that also works on a Linux kernel, a professor of computer engineering. And it's got this Pi karaoke software running it for running when I feel like being amused with some silly sounding music from my youth. I can run all kinds of free karaoke songs in it and sing along with it until the neighbors tell me to shut up. So anyhow, the simplicity is there. And I don't know of another version of Linux that has this level of simplicity that you can give somebody and just say, tap here, tap here, tap here, and you can walk away. And a week later, it's still running for them and they can still start it, okay? With Windows, usually they've destroyed something and deleted a few things by the time you get back to them a few days later. So anyhow, see this little button here, the little green button? That's how you get out. If they can remember green, get out, they're home free, right? You just click on it and you click on shut down and they're out. That's another thing that people can't remember, new users, especially people in their 90s, which none of you qualify at. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, now, if I go back into the presentation thing here, and I open it up again, I mean the list of virtual machines, the virtual machine I really like is this guy right here. I'm not going to probably bother you with it too much. As you can tell, I paid for it. It says OEM number 2, and it's a legal copy of Windows. And everything here is legal with the exception of this enterprise evaluation, which I only use for beating up things, and I don't generally show it at a presentation. So this is a legal copy of Windows that I bought for $25 on eBay. I'm taking a chance. Sometimes they don't work when they arrive, when you get an activation code for $25. Obviously it worked or I wouldn't be showing it to you, right? So you say power on. If you look at settings, again, you have this sound card, which you can either give it a sound card, or you can specify a sound card that's on the host already, or you can connect a sound card using the USB controller, which is a USB sound card, which is how I do it. Sound cards don't last long when you edit video and you burn them up. I burn things up a lot. So I buy USB sound cards from companies like Sound Blaster. And after I'm through editing video for a few months, they're toast, okay? And sometimes I actually do what Dr. Sandok does in our group. I run a fan on them to make them last a little longer, okay? Things that run hot aren't gonna last very long. If you feel heat, it's gonna deteriorate, okay? USB controller, it gives you 3 controllers. You can put in a USB 3.1, 2, or 1 controller. You can attach any USB device. You can attach USB devices by means of SATA or NVMe or what else did they give you a choice? The other one. I can't remember all of them. And then okay. Then under display, I have this massive amount of video resolution I can use, 8 GB, and it's going to run good for all the multimedia stuff I do. Okay, so that's what you have to adjust when you want to play God. And then you get it started by powering it on. Okay, I'm powering it on. Now this is my favorite virtual machine, so I can't really experiment with it. This is my TV set. I use it for a lot, mainly for testing of TV equipment. So once it gets started, you notice that it's running fairly fast. I've given it around 28 gigs of RAM. So I'm cheating a little bit, okay? I don't have time. Yes, to the network card I attached recently to it. And then if you look at this thing from inside, first of all, I'm running these 2 pieces of TV software, okay? With a little luck, it'll run today. Sometimes things have a way of failing when you're making a presentation. Don't know how that works. Okay. Now let's see if it's going to behave today. I'm not yet. No tuners connected. I forgot to attach a TV tuner. Oh, that's par for the course, isn't it? I'm going to disconnect, stop it. I'm going to go to player, remove all devices. I'm going to say, let's attach my quad TV tuners. Here's one TV tuner, and I'm going to say yes. And it makes a kind of a funny sound. I'm going to say player, remove devices, a quad second tuner inside the same quad TV tuner, connect. Okay, these are my newest ones. They were invented about 2 years ago. I think they're all attached now, right? Both TVs are attached, even though this one doesn't have the symbol next to it. Now I'm going to start it up and see if my TVs are working. And it also works now in VirtualBox, but not quite as well. Okay. And we'll see when that wants to start up. May not, may. Sometimes you got to start up more than once. There it goes. Oh, there's my favorite judge, Judge Judy. She's still trying cases for people. Anyhow, I'm going to get out of this. Obviously, it's working, right? I'm going to get out of all this. I also edit video in some of this. And what else do I enjoy doing? I can surf the network, internet, with this and make changes like on APCUG's Google account, not Google, GoDaddy account. I can do all kinds of stuff in here. It's a very useful virtual machine I've got, right? And I can, one thing I like about it is I can freeze it. You try that with Windows normally. If I say shut down and I suspend it, I can reopen it and half the stuff will still work when I reopen it. Half the stuff will say, no, sorry, Charlie, restart this program. Okay. So what else can I tell you? Okay. Any questions? All right. So I'm going to minimize that. Now, if I open a second virtual machine, I can actually connect even virtual machines between systems, as long as I have a router that's common between the two of them. So there's a lot of things I can do. Let's go through and talk about what a virtual machine really is. Okay, what is a virtual machine? Well, if you look here in Documents, which is inside your account, I guess I didn't save any in there. Let me look in here. I don't trust Microsoft's documents. I may not have been saved one in there. Users, right? And my name is test user, right? And virtual machines, where did that go? Oh, maybe I didn't save any in here. You got me. Okay. Documents. And nope, I don't have any. So let me show you what I did. I cheated. I stuck my virtual machines in another folder. And where did I stick the darn things? I put them in C. Where did I put these virtual machines? I got to think about it for a second. Oh, I'm still inside a virtual machine. No wonder I don't see all my virtual machines. Darn, I think I'm losing it. Anyhow, go in here. I'm still running the virtual machine. All right. And how do you know you're inside a virtual machine? If you shake it around, it tells you which window it belongs to. Okay? So keep that in mind. Go to Documents, and there's my virtual machines. And there's two virtual machines I just made the last couple of days to prepare for this presentation. Now, each virtual machine you create in VMware Workstation Player ends up in a folder. Okay? And that folder can be copied and stored elsewhere, anywhere in the world you want, any other computer, even on a Mac. Each one of these virtual machines is a folder. Let's look at this fancy one that I made of Windows 10 Pro. Okay, inside there is a bunch of logs. You can delete most of them. Inside there is a file called VMDK. That's a virtual hard drive. Inside, where do you think the motherboard is? It's the v.vmx file. See? So everything is nice and neat in the VMware world. Okay? Not so in VirtualBox. In VirtualBox, you can't just copy the darn virtual machine. When you do it, you break it when at the new location. And you got to jump through hoops to make it work. The hoops aren't worth jumping through. By the time you're through, you've probably purchased a new copy of Windows, unless you're running Linux, and they're more forgiving. Okay? Now, let me show you for laughs what you have to do to copy a virtual machine inside VirtualBox. You're not going to like this. And it's even worse in Hyper-V. Okay? In VirtualBox, if you go to the C drive and you go to users, right? You go to users and you go to your username. There's two folders. .VirtualBox stores information about that virtual machine. And it's somewhat, that's nothing you can read, okay, about your virtual machines. See where it says VirtualBox VMs? I don't know if you can see this. VirtualBox VMs. In there is your virtual machines. But as soon as you copy it and run it somewhere else, it's not going to start. Well, that takes the fun out of it. So you have to export and import to copy a virtual machine in VirtualBox. You have to go to the export. Once you're in the virtual machine, you have to export it, right-click on it, export it, and later take the export file, an OVA file or an OVC file, and copy it somewhere else and import the darn thing. I'll show you what a virtual machine looks like in VirtualBox. It's still 3 files. And it's got these 3 files, and you'll notice that they didn't store the virtual hard drive there. They must have hid it somewhere else, right? So I'm guessing they stuck it up in the other folder. I can't remember for sure. Let's see what it's up on the other folder under test user and .VirtualBox. But they hid it over there. No? So I don't know where they hid it. I know it's somewhere, okay? I just can't remember where the heck they hid it. Okay, so anyhow, you get the idea. You're not going to do anything with it anytime soon. I think that's it right there. I think it's this VDI file. Okay, so they do they do sort in the same place. You just can't move it. Now, if you want to know what happens to Hyper-V, which is not my favorite program as usual, I'll show it to you real quick. If you go to Hyper-V, they hide all your virtual hard drives in your public profile, which is kind of a crazy place to put things, but that's where they decided to put it. And obviously it works fine. If you're a Microsoft person, you're probably mad at me by now. You go to users, and you go to public, and you go to, where do they put the darn thing? Public documents, and Hyper-V, virtual hard disk, and there's all your virtual hard disks, your VHDX files. Okay? Now, that's part of it. Where do you think they hide your virtual machine, the motherboard, virtual motherboards, and the other configuration files in VirtualBox? In Hyper-V, they hide it inside program data or something. Let's see where they hide it. It's kind of a weird place. Let's see if I can get it high up enough that I can find it for you real quick. Public users, C, and program data. They hide it inside program data, inside Microsoft, inside Windows. You see what I'm trying to tell you? They hide it somewhere weird, and you can't move it from there anyway. You have to export it and import it. So I don't like using the ones that make you to jump through hoops to make a copy for backing up or to move it somewhere else. That takes the fun out of running virtual machines, so you won't catch me doing it much. Hyper-V, program data, Microsoft Windows, Hyper-V, and see something about virtual machines. Now look at the names they gave each virtual machine. They don't want you to know which one's which. They do this for all their programs also now in Microsoft, all the new Universal Windows programs. Okay, they hide them. Okay, so anybody have any questions? Not yet, huh?
One question that I have now, it sounds like you're not really putting the video cards in there. You're just giving yourself a virtual 8 GB video card. Am I getting this correct?
That's correct. Now, I think, I haven't tried it. I think you can also add a USB video card now. Because that's how I do all my computing, but I haven't tried it with virtual machines. So I will try that and figure that out. In other words, the fact that your virtual machine has a good quality, I'm going to get out of this for a second and go back to the other computer, has a great quality capability. What happened to it? Oh, I'm inside the virtual machine. The fact you can now attach all kinds of stuff to your virtual machine tells me you can probably get away with attaching a video card now too. That capability just came about within the last couple of years. And I haven't tried it. And I imagine it'll be just like with VMware Player and VirtualBox. It'll work better with VMware Player relative to VirtualBox. But that's correct. Until the last couple of years, the USB support was pretty darn bad. So the software developers that write this software have improved it, which is why I can now run a TV inside on both VirtualBox and VMware Player. See? So let me go over a few more things. Let's see what else I can go over. All right, let's see. If you go to, I can probably show you how to install any of these. If you want a real fast virtual machine, by all means, spend your $99 and upgrade to Windows 10 Pro. But it seems a little steep for me. I just happen to have it already for other things I'm doing. See? So let's see, what else can I go to? I should be able to go to here and see virtual networks. Oh no, I don't want to do that. Let's see. Let's go here. Okay, I hope you all can see. I hope I'm still sharing my screen. Do you see? You guys see my screen by any chance?
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. I can't tell because I told the toolbar to hide. So I can't really tell currently what's going on. So let me know if there's any problems. Go to my website and you go to meeting notes, right? And what else I want to show you? Okay. If anybody wants any help at all installing this stuff, give me a call, send me an email, talk to me on Zoom, and I'll be glad to help you. Virtual machines come in and out of popularity. If you're trying to learn Linux and you have a Windows computer, it's ideal, except for how hard it is to configure, which is why we have all these, in the Linux world, we have all these install fests. It involves, for about half of them I've attended, involves setting up a virtual machine for somebody, and then running Linux in there for them. And the best thing to do is not to have them see you struggling with Linux, but to give them a pre-made virtual machine like the one I just showed you for MX Linux, right? Because that people don't see you struggling, they don't think it's impossible. Most people see someone clicking away at a computer and scratching their heads and uttering profanity, and they think that must be an awfully difficult thing to do. See? So you want to make it look easy. In the past, these install fests involve literally hiring volunteers from all over a city to install Linux into people's computers because of the complexity of dealing with drivers and other issues.
Goodbye.
See? Now, virtual networks in virtual machine programs. Okay, when you install a virtual machine program into your computer, you get a darn virtual network in that computer, whether you like it or not. Virtual machine, you can't just give someone a computer and say, okay, bye, and have it do anything for them, because it then won't connect to the internet or anything else. So somehow it's got to connect out to the real world, right? And there's various ways that they provided you to do it in the virtual machine world. Okay, let me just jump back into a virtual machine to show you something. Virtual networks used to show up as all kinds of funny names inside Windows when you install a virtual machine. They went and they got rid of that nonsense. Right now, this is my computer. I spent a fortune for it, okay? I bought it from Costco. So I bought it from a local manufacturer of computers here. Now, if I go into control and I type in network, let's see, okay. And I look for the networks and sharing, right? Network and sharing. I've got 2 virtual machine programs installed into this computer. You notice that it doesn't show up here where in network and sharing center. In the past, it would put a nastygram there and say unidentified network. It scared the hell out of some people here. Okay, they thought some hacker had gotten into their computer. So the virtual machine companies got rid of letting Windows see them as an unidentified network. Okay, then if you say change adapter settings, I'm still inside a virtual machine, aren't I? All right, I'm in the wrong one. Let's see, let's get out of this. All right, let's see, I'm inside this one, player, much better. Okay, now let's get back into the network world. Run, and let's go to control panel again. I just type in control, right? And I go to what, networks and sharing or something? Network and sharing. You notice that there's no indication here that I have virtual machines inside this computer or virtual networks, right? Nothing, no indication. Go to change adapter settings and all kinds of weird stuff starts showing up. These are the virtual network adapters created by the virtual machine programs that I've installed into this computer. And I've installed 2. I've installed Oracle VM VirtualBox and VMware Workstation Player. And first thing it does is give me a pile of new adapters that are actually virtual adapters. There's one here called VirtualBox Host Only Network Adapter. There's one here called Virtual, let's see, that's there, right? That's the only thing that shows up from the VirtualBox program, right? There's one in here called VMware Network Adapter VMNet 1, okay? There's one in here called VMware Network Adapter VMNet 8, okay? Those 2 attach my real computer to some virtual networks that were installed when I installed the VMware program. See, so that's how you can tell that something is, you've got virtual machines and virtual networks, some new adapters show up. They got rid of the things that scared people. I wish I could help people that got so panicky when they saw unidentified network on their computers, but that problem is now gone. Okay, and the Hyper-V is the same thing. It adds in a couple of network adapters, 1 to N, into the same screen when you install it into your computer. Okay, now the other thing is of great interest, and I get this question almost constantly, is how the hell do you connect a virtual machine directly to your existing network if you don't want all that virtual stuff? Okay, in other words, how you attach a virtual network adapter to your real network and be done with it. You don't want all that additional junk in there. Well, to do that, if you go to, if you have a virtual machine like this one, right? Where is this damn virtual machine? I think it's right. Oh, it's right here. I think I'm in it right now. Let me see if I can make it a little smaller to make my point. Let's see. Let's go down. You see how it says a window inside this other window? The other window is my remote desktop, and this other window is my virtual machine inside my computer downstairs. See how that works? So basically, I've got computers inside computers. Now, if I'm inside a virtual machine, this is a virtual machine. I don't have to look inside Windows. I gotta look inside the controls for it. So I click on here and I go Manage, and I go Virtual Machine Settings. Under Network Adapter, you notice that I have attached the virtual network adapter to a router called NAT, Network Address Translation. That's what most routers do. Okay, there's about 4 functions that most routers have. They just gave it a name of one of its functions. That's a free router that you've been given when you install the virtual machine program. If you went out to buy a router, it costs you at least $50, okay? And you wouldn't get a very good one. This is a freebie. Now, if I tell the network adapter to be bridged up there, it installs, and I have a whole presentation explaining all this, to a virtual bridge that the virtual VMware program also makes inside your computer. That virtual bridge also attaches directly to your regular computer. And that virtual bridge also connects you to any other computers on your home or business network. So that's how you get around having to deal with virtual routers. You just tell it the heck with it. Connect directly to my existing network and be done with it. And when I was testing the WannaCry virus in 2015, I didn't dare bridge the virus-infested computers to my regular network. It wouldn't have ended well, okay? My wife would have been mad with me. It would have been grounds for divorce. What I did was I set up a separate router, a real router, attached it to my border router, which is downstairs, which connects to the broadband modem. And that router is set up like Fort Knox. It only lets things in and out of the internet. It doesn't connect to any other routers in the house here. And then I would use the bridge to connect to that that unsecure equipment router. And then I would create a bunch of these virtual machines and one or more computers. And then I would have a way to blow up computers and not have to pay money to some idiot trying to extort money out of me. And I demonstrated this all over the country. Back when WannaCry came out, everybody wanted to see what WannaCry looks like without infecting their home network or their business network. So there's a lot of things you can do once you get the virtual machines installed. If you want help, I can send you legally in the Linux world an entire virtual machine that works fine as a download, and you can then run it. I can either make it a zip file or whatever. If I did it with Windows and they found out, I think I would end up with an $80 to $120 charge to APCUG. So I probably wouldn't do that with Windows, but I can be glad to do it with Linux. And so then you would install it and all the icons would be there and they would set it right. You give me a call and I help you configure a few last things and you'd be up and running in about 5 minutes. So it all depends. You don't want to, if you're in business like I've been for years and years dealing with computers, you don't want to make it look hard because then people will think they depend on you for the problems that they encounter. See? So any other questions or comments? Not really, huh? I could show you more about Hyper-V, but I'm not sure any of you really want to see it. The only reason I'm running it is because every time I mention that I'm showing virtual machines, somebody has been to CES and been told how great Hyper-V is. by the Microsoft advocates there.
Mr. Chao,
Mhm.
on a number of occasions, you referred to security and testing and so forth. In our, I'm the editor of the DMA newsletter, and in our current issue, I have a short article with a link to a bunch of Austrian software engineers who say that the Colonial pipeline disaster could have been averted using any one of several good security packages. These people simply had old computers with very little security. Could you, using a virtual computer, have isolated that ransomware or even prevented the attack by running a virtual computer?
Well, it gives me more capabilities. Most of the honeypots you find on the internet, where they try to snooker people into obtaining false data, are virtual computers.
Okay. Thank you.
Excuse me. I gotta figure some way to mute this darn thing.
Oh, here, I'm sorry. Look under participants or on your own, the bottom left corner. I muted a few people that were causing some reverberations.
Yeah, excuse me. I generally try. Huh.
Trying to stop sharing.
I'm trying to, for some reason,
It should be on the share screen, I think, right?
Now go up to the top, the menus at the very top to do your stop sharing.
Oh, yeah, there you are.
I gotta trying to figure some way I can cough. Let's see. I told it to let's see what I gotta do here.
The mute, if you have a mute button, there's on the bottom left.
That's just it. I told it to hide my silly there it is. Mute. Okay, I done my coughing. Now, a virtual machine is no more or less powerful than any computer you own. But what it gives you the ability to do is, it gives you the ability to recover from something. What I'll do on any virtual machine is I'll back it up. And sometimes the backup goes into a bank vault down the street here. And then if something really goes wrong with the original virtual machine, I can then go get my backup copy out of the bank vault, and it's fine. One thing I do is in the Windows world, you guys know how Windows activates? It stores the UUID of the motherboard up in the cloud. It's a 128-bit unique number that every motherboard has in it, a UUID. Now, when you buy, and I've got a complete presentation on how Windows activates. The Microsoft people hate me. They don't want the world to know. When you hide when you activate Windows, what do? You buy a 25-character code, right?
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft then sees that you've bought the code, make sure that you're using the correct version of Windows that the code conforms to up in their database, and then they store your UUID of the motherboard, all 128 characters, up in a separate database. So Microsoft basically has two databases for activation. One is a temporary activation database for businesses and for people that buy a copy of Windows. And the other one is a permanent one where they store the fact that Joe Blow has a computer located at a certain spot, and they don't store much information about that computer other than the UUID, and they store that in there. Now, if you did not know that and you thought your computer was broke and your motherboard was still working, and you went and bought another copy of Windows and you activated it with a 25-character code, you might end up with 2 or 3 or 4 or a dozen activations stored up in the cloud. Microsoft would try to help you by using one of them each time you try to reinstall Windows, right? Now, when you copy a virtual machine in VMware Player to another computer or to another place on your hard drive, when you start up the new location, the relocated virtual machine, it will ask you if you copied or if you moved. If you said you moved, VMware Player Workstation will keep the same UUID and the same MAC addresses for all the different virtual network cards in your virtual machine in your home free. If you said, I copied it, Microsoft would change all those values. If it changes all those values, and Microsoft would, and the next time that virtual machine calls home to Microsoft, which will be within about 5 seconds of you starting up the virtual machine, Microsoft will realize that something's funny because you have the wrong virtual machine UUID on your motherboard, and it'll try to figure out what went wrong, and it'll tell you that your copy of Windows is not activated. So what you've got to do, and it's in my presentations down below about copying virtual machines for VMware. It's one of my presentations. There's 2 things you can do. One, you got to be very accurately clicking on I moved this virtual machine every time you start up the darn thing. Okay? And then the other thing you have to do, you can edit the VMX file with a do not ask command. Do not ask for the fact that something's been changed. Do not ask them if they moved it or if they copied it. So there's 2 ways to transfer, to move or copy a Windows 10 virtual machine. If you do it incorrectly and you say I copied, you're going to have a non-working Windows 10 copy until you buy a copy again, input another 25-character activation code. So if you end up using VMware to run real legal copies of Windows, like I'm doing, it's best for you to put in that edit into the VMX line using a text editor like Notepad, so that it never bothers you every time you copy it and move it. So keep that in mind. So I have moved copies of Windows, legal copies, dozens of times, no problem, as long as you have the correct code in the VMX file, the .vmx file. Okay. So anyhow, any other questions, or do you want me to try to show you something else? I don't mind. Let's see. I don't know what happened there.
So, and one thing, it sounds like the copy is just to regain a virtual machine. It's not the actual copy a machine you already have up and going. Is that correct?
Well, here's the problem. In the Linux world and in prior versions of Windows, Windows stored as part of the activation process some of the information, like your MAC address of your main adapter, up in their cloud as part of activation. That's Windows 7 and earlier, Windows 8 and earlier. So then you would want a new one, believe it or not, because then if you don't change it, Windows then complains. So it's the other way around. In Windows 10, Microsoft only stores that one key information about your motherboard. And so that if you tell it to change it, you're going to confuse the heck out of Windows within 5 seconds of you starting up your Windows computer, because they're using their fancy system to track every computer in the world. So they know when any version of any of their copies of Windows in the whole world have started up. And some people think that's ridiculous, some of the Linux and open source people, and so they don't use Windows much. They don't want the world to know, somebody to know that they fired up their computer. See? So you don't know what else they're gathering on you. I can guarantee you it's more than they'll admit to. And I've learned these facts about Microsoft by trial and error. You won't find them anywhere. And you'll find people on news groups and in discussion groups admitting these facts I've just told you. Some of them work for Microsoft. Some of them used to work for Microsoft. But if you follow the rules, I can give you a copy that I purchased legally of Windows, because what you have to do is destroy your own copy once you've given a computer to somebody else or a virtual machine. You have to follow the rules and destroy all your copies and transfer all the receipts and other things you use when you bought that copy. So there are ways you can transfer. The other way you can transfer a copy of Windows is to get a refurbishment license. A lot of users groups have that. That lets you reactivate old copies of Windows, and they'll check and try to make sure that the copies are legitimate for you. It's a kind of a environmental thing that Microsoft is trying to do to reduce the amount of computers going to landfills. So with Windows 10, they massively changed how they keep track of activation and computers. So if you know that, you're not just scared of changing things anymore. You just know there's one thing you can't change. And there actually is a way, if you're real smart, because the UUID in a motherboard is readable. So think about that. If it's readable from any virtual machine or any computer, you can then put that number somewhere else. But the problem is Microsoft also detects how many instances of that particular UUID of that activation are running. So if I send you a copy and I'm running it and you're running it, you're going to start getting error messages, and eventually one of the two computers or both will fail. See? So don't try it. Then they're also triggering, you're also going to trigger some oversight from the NSA when you do that. They're going to say, something funny is happening with this computer. So you're going to start and the background investigation on you, one that's outside of the courts. And what people that Best Buy customer found out is there's a lot of background investigations going on for the NSA and the FBI, because some of them have been turned in for various things by techs who wanted to, some of the bribes that the NSA and the CIA and the FBI hand out. So there's been some crazy stuff going on like that. One happened about a few miles from here. So I know it well. A doctor lost his job for 2 years due to some spying by Best Buy. He didn't do anything wrong. Somebody just claimed he did to get a $500 bill put in his wallet. And I feel sorry for him. He's one of our best doctors in town.
Some of our older members may remember our own group had a refurbishment license. We used to take old computers that were donated from local businesses and refurbish them and then give them to poor clients with some rudimentary software installed. And in fact, I remember many years ago, a young lady who set up a successful business rather early on the internet, a costume jewelry business using one of our refurbished computers. So she pulled herself out of poverty.
Yeah, I have a relative that did something similar, and now she's working, has a big And so she was working on a master's in business. And she was absolutely impoverished. And she set up a small business in Chicago selling handmade pot holders and things. And apparently they caught on with some people. She sent me a couple. They were nice. So there's a lot of things people can do now. And refurbished computers are a hot commodity because, let's face it, the schools can't do without them. They don't have enough money, especially with all these teachers screaming for raises that they haven't got for the last 10 years and all that. The schools are pretty strapped for cash. So this refurbishment thing is a great concept. And we do a lot of it here in town. I tell people the tale that about the only thing that ever dies in a computer is usually one or two parts. And you got all kinds of parts in there that probably can be reused. But most people just used to toss them in the trash. Things like that. So any other questions? So want me to show you more or something? I don't know. You guys getting sick of me?
I don't know that we're getting sick of you, but I know we're getting close to nearing the end of the meeting here. We have usually some giveaways and things. I'm sure everybody's very happy with this. Are there any other questions from members here?
You can ask them to me directly at any time. I love talking about this stuff.
I did mute a lot of people just to cut down on some echoing I was getting. So you will have to unmute yourself if there are any questions. Otherwise, I'm going to thank Mr. Chao here, and I thought this was a very good meeting.
Yes.
You're seeing the top of my head. Oh, there it goes. This monitor, this camera is strange. It's one of these $180 top of the line Logitech cameras. Anyhow, send me some questions and comments and let me know if you want to hear about any of this. And especially let me know if you're actually trying some of this. And I can send you probably without any problems a copy of Linux as already all configured to run nicely, and save you some of the head scratching and trouble for starting into that part of the world. Can't do it with Windows legally.
I thank you very much for all this, and when we put this up on video, they will get I'll make sure to leave your email address on there so that they can actually contact you. So if somebody actually watches the when I put this video up, you will probably get some people calling you maybe a month or 2 or 3 from now about this who didn't show to the meeting.
Great. We'll see everybody later, okay?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chao. This has been great. I didn't mean to actually send him away if he wanted to stay and listen here, but I know that there's a few things that we need to go through. Glad he sent me a thing here about the have you heard. If you know, Peter is not with us tonight, and so I'm trying to MC the proceedings here. Metro Net Fiber in the Dayton area is on a tear to install internet access to multiple states across the eastern U.S. That access includes gigabit fiber. Construction is now complete in sections of Inglewood and will soon spread north to West Milton. It is also complete in sections of Vandalia and moving north to Troy and east to Huber. MetroNet offers fiber internet, fiber TV, and fiber phone, plus a full menu of other options. www.metronetinc.com. Point Broadband is currently installing fiber in Springboro, expecting to be done by August. They plan to expand in Centerville, Kettering, Miamisburg, Moraine, Oakwood, and West Carrollton. And I'm going woo woo on that. AT&T's close and they won't do it up to my house. HTTPS pointbroadband.com. COVID vaccine cards have become targets of scams. I actually read a little bit about this a while back. It's a lot of people think this is a good idea. Actually, HIPAA does not allow people to ask you anything about your health. So if somebody's trying to get information on you about your health, personally, I would just say no. What this says is online offers for fake or blank vaccine cards asking for about $10 per card. You don't need to do this. There's no way anybody can actually ask you for your information. It is illegal. So don't fall for these scams. Standard cards are paper and easy enough to copy, but making the selling fake cards could bring felony charges. Officials at Health and Human Services, it's the whole, as far as I'm concerned, even the government part of it is a scam. They cannot force you to show your card because nobody's supposed to be asking you about your health status. Personally, I'm even beyond where some people are on this. I hate to even go into this too much. Don't Zoom while driving. This is actually sort of funny. Ohio State Senator Andrew Brenner joined a virtual government meeting 2 weeks ago while seated in his car, parked on the side of the road. He left the meeting briefly and reconnected with a background that looked like a home office, though his seatbelt was clearly still strapped across his chest. The background gradually became less and less convincing as the lawmaker appeared to be steering his way through the meeting. Probably not something good to do, but I don't know. Who knows? I don't know how he was getting connection in the car. That sort of is amazing. Vax-A-Million, if you are 18 or older and have at least one vaccine shot, you can register for a chance to win 1 million. Those aged 12 to 17 are instead playing to win 4-year full ride scholarship to any Ohio State college or university. Register online, but just once. The entry will be good for all drawings. Winner.
That Vax-A-Million expired, I believe, yesterday.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can't register. I missed the deadline.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Personally, I don't think it's a great idea anyway. I don't think we should be paying people to do this, but what do I know?
Edwin,
Yes.
Edwin,
Yes.
that did not expire. There's 5 weeks of drawings.
That's what I thought. I think
first-
just
No more
this
chances.
week's may have
The first
Yeah.
winner will be announced tomorrow.
there. Yeah, because they're going to be doing this weekly for a few more
And
weeks.
then-
Maybe the first week is over, but that's.
Okay.
I think glad he's right on that.
They close
There's
Monday
a
evening. I think,
Sunday
for the
night
first week.
Sorry.
deadline.
I'm sorry. I
I think
apologize.
it's-
I'm sorry, what,
Yeah.
Kathleen?
I think it's a Sunday night deadline for each drawing.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Let's see here. June 15th, 2022, Microsoft is finally retiring Internet Explorer next year. After more than 25 years, the aging web browser has largely been unused for most customers for years, but Microsoft is putting the final nail on the Internet coffin, Explorer coffin on June 15th, 2022 by retiring it in favor of Microsoft Edge, which most people have been using for a while now. And here's sort of a fun thing. How a 17-year-old birthday party became the biggest thing on the internet. And this is, if you're trying to get away with something, maybe something not to do. New York Times a week ago, Adrian Lopez, 17, was just an average high school student in Eastvale, California. But after a digital flyer he made inviting friends to Huntington Beach for his birthday went viral, to the point of attracting thousands of strangers to the beach and to an event space in Los Angeles, he's become a household name on social media. He made the invitations on Monday and titled it Adrian's Kickback. It was meant to be for my school, said Lopez. It's an attempt to drum up more interest. His friend Yahir Hernandez, 16, posted the flyer to Snapchat, then to his personal TikTok account. The video took hold on TikTok and gained mass distribution overnight. It became a meme. Thousands of teenagers showed up. Police responded to both locations, and authorities issued an emergency overnight curfew, and nearly 150 attendees were arrested. Be careful what you post online. So that's sort of it for the have you heard section here. DMA events, I don't know that we actually need to go through the whole calendar, but you know, the Linux SIG happened May 20th already. Let's see, we're at the 25th right now. Python self-study is on Fridays every week through June. Let's see here now. Memorial Day is the 31st, less than a week away. We have the genealogy SIG canceled. Classic computers by phone as June 5th. DMA trustees, we got almost a 2-week break here before our meeting. So anybody that wants to come to the trustees meeting, please pay attention because you're welcome to come. We've been doing it online, so you don't have to drive, but people that want to come in are welcome to. Dayton Dynamic Languages is on June 9th. We have the investment SIG the day before on June 8th. Again, the Python's self-studies on Fridays, the 11th and the 18th. The Linux SIG is going to be on the 17th. And on June 14th, the Apple Dayton SIG was canceled. Oh, so they're not going to be there, I guess, for a while. So, Gladdy, I guess we're up for you. We still have 20 minutes, but do we have anybody that has any questions or go to the order or anything like that? I'm not.
Kathleen, I have a question.
Okay.
Our speaker mentioned that Apple was going to discontinue boot camp. And recently I had considered, I was so upset with Microsoft for screwing up my Kyocera printer drivers that I was considering moving to Apple. But I was interested in that only if I could run virtual Windows within it. So does that mean that you're not going to be able to do that anymore if they don't have boot camp, or will they have some other way that you can run a virtual Windows machine on an Apple computer?
I believe there is a pay program. Now this is just my memory, and which is failing, but called Parallel. Which is paid. You have to buy it. It isn't thrown in with the Apple computer. But
Okay.
Parallel does allow you to run Windows on Apple computers.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. It's not muted. Okay.
I got something.
See myself.
Patrick, please.
Just tell Gladdy I paid my dues to PayPal. So can you put me in the drawing?
Okay. So I
He was holding you up. That's just wrong.
Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Are we ready for the drawing?
You.
Yep.
All right. First up, we have it a Sandisk. I'm gonna have to read this. Sandisk Ultra Plus. It's a dual drive Lux. It's got a USB-A on one side and USB-C on the other side. It's a 3.1 type USB. It's 128 gig.
Nice.
Second one we've got, this is from Martin's son, Michael Arbagi. It's a LaCie rugged drive. It's termed at, it's supposed to be a 2 terabyte hard drive. It's formatted, wiped and formatted to 1.81 terabytes. So, and there's
Very
a
nice.
spot, there's a spot here for a USB-C cable, and I need to get that to you if you choose that one. There's Thunderbolt on there. Yeah, and there's a connector for USB-C. Now this is from Dave Lundy's collection. It's an ultra thin, high speed HD. Am I out of there? Oh,
A little higher, maybe.
high speed HDMI cable.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice.
6 foot. Thank you. And the last, someone's already decided that he's taking it home. It's a Philips Bass Plus over-the-ear wireless headphones.
Nice.
Okay, so we have a thumb drive, we have a hard drive, we have a high-speed cable, and we have headphones. Pick one out. Who do you got? Rufus Walker, is he still with us? Rufus?
Rufus?
He attended tonight.
Rufus?
Yes, he was
There's
there.
16 people still here.
Where's
There we go.
Rufus? Is he muted?
Rufus?
Can you find him? Is he still here?
Click the down button.
Yeah, no.
I don't see him on.
No, I see it, but the mouse won't go over there.
Let me see if I can tap it.
No, I don't see Rufus listed, so he must have gotten off already. Do we want to just send that to him, or we want
We always say that you need to be there to win.
to? Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, let's pull another one.
Ken Phelps.
Ken Phelps, is he still with us?
Ken is still with us.
Sir?
Can you unmute Ken?
Yes, I'm
Speak up,
here.
Ken.
Hey,
Woo!
good
Go
evening, everybody.
Ken.
Thank you. Oh, I think I could go for that that portable drive.
Ah, the hard drive.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay,
That one, or you want the,
or the thumb drive.
or the thumb drive?
I'll take the rugged.
Yeah. Rugged hard drive, yes.
Hard drive.
The 2
okay.
terabyte hard drive, right?
Yep, I'll take that.
That's what he wants.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And we got John Kennedy. Is he still with us?
I should see this. I'm not seeing John Kennedy, but I've got one person with the phone number. Who is that?
No, I didn't have, I can't tell. I looked for that. We must have lost a lot of participants.
Yeah, the
Gee,
phone
no,
number, the phone number is a 937 area code.
Yes.
Okay, that's my phone number, and this is Myron.
Myron. Okay.
Ah, you did it again. I don't have you entered because you had a phone number.
Okay.
Oh,
All
okay,
right,
well,
let's try another one. We'll have to tell John that he needs to stick around for the drawing. He's APCUG, but I've been putting his name in.
Mark Campbell.
Is there any question? How does he do that? I don't know. Keep putting his name in there.
Do what?
Mike Stock.
Mike Stock's here.
All right. Let's see, high-speed HDMI or a thumb drive?
Mike,
Unmute, Mike.
he's on mute.
I see him. Oh, Mike Stock 2 is muted.
He's just not, he's trying to hem and haw. He doesn't know what he wants.
Come on. Which one do you want, Mike? The flash drive?
The thumb drive.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Martin Arbogee, would you like a high-speed HDMI cable?
Believe it or not, that is what I wanted, and you can give it to me at the June meeting. But that deep in my heart of hearts, that is exactly what I wanted. By the way, those cables do make a difference. I bought some quad shielded HDMI just for our TV set in the kitchen, or a quad shielded cable. And I thought, is this my imagination or am I getting a better picture? And my wife walks into the kitchen and says, the picture on the TV looks better. What have you done to it? And I told her I did nothing. I just put in a new cable. So these cables do make a difference.
The older cables are not as good as the newer ones. You really, if you get like a high-speed TV or the 4Ks, you need to upgrade your cable.
Yeah.
So
the other thing I noticed, by the way, when we upgraded to digital cable, I used our old VGA cable, and the subtitles weren't coming in. And at that time, I was going deaf. So I was I now have hearing aids for those of you who come to TJ Chumps, although I'm at home today. But it wouldn't it garbled the subtitles. When I switched to HDMI, they even the older HDMI, the subtitles came through loud and clear. No double meaning intended there.
one thing I do, I actually have an antenna. I don't really pay the local, for local stations, I have an antenna, and it comes in much better than the cable or the satellite companies give you. So if you don't have an antenna, you should probably find a way to set one up, because it's much better than the stuff that the services give you.
Okay.
Edwin, one of the things I wanted to make sure we mention tonight is we have scheduled a picnic August 28th, a Saturday, August 28th. We're going to try it at in Riverside. It's called Shellabarger Park.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We figure we can have a picnic. We're just don't think it's quite safe enough to do a potluck yet. So we changed it to a brown bag picnic. So we'll have have lunch at 1 o'clock and then start the raffles at 2 o'clock.
Are we going? Are we going to try to?
Go on.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I haven't discussed it with the board yet. We may supply some drinks and, who knows, maybe some cupcakes or something like that. But
should we maybe even have somebody do the catering where, we just have it all put together?
I think we can bring our own brown bags.
Okay.
So the tickets will still be $5. And we should have a whole mound of prizes there waiting for us. If you want to bring a picnic-like entertainment, you can. There's electricity there, and we'll have some sort of internet hotspot when we go. August 28th. Yeah. So keep that. I have tickets already. Any of the meetings, or contact me directly. We'll get you some tickets.
Okay.
Good,
You can-
good reminder. Thank you, Gladys.
You can look on the rear cover of the May issue for a very general, it just gives the, oh,
Basic info?
I didn't give the date, dang it. I'm sorry. I didn't give the date or the place or the time, but I should have given the date. I apologize for that, but at least there's an announcement that it is going to take place on the rear cover of the May issue of the data bus.
Okay, you're fired.
No, no. Gladys, what's the name of the park again?
I guess Gladys wants to be the new editor of the data bus, Martin.
Listen, I'll gladly hand it over to her.
It's called Shellabarger Park. It's across from a great school near Spinning and Burkhart. If you know where that is.
I don't, but I should, because my grandmother's name was Schallenberger. So I will be interested in coming to this. There's actually a Schallenberger forest over in the Hocking Hills area.
I think I'm good on announcements, so.
I think we can call this meeting to a close. Thank you, everyone. Any other comments before we shut this down?
Great meeting, and at least home, the connection was perfectly stable.
Well,
I
good.
don't know how you guys at TJ Chumps made out.
Yeah, that was very good tonight. How did I would, well, on the, our meeting here in a couple of weeks, we can discuss this and see what happened there. But thank you all. This has been a great meeting. Everyone have a good night. And thank you for coming to the DMA here May meeting.
Thank you.